In the silent vacuum of deep space, a scream is a physical impossibility. Sound requires a medium, air, water, gas, to move. The void has none. When a star dies, it usually does so in absolute silence. But there is a glitch. A specific execution so violent and mathematically cruel that it forces the universe to scream in a frequency we can see from halfway across the cosmos. A massive sphere of superheated plasma has existed for billions of years. A fortress of fusion held together by a fragile gravitational tug-of-war. It was built to endure eons. But right now, it is crossing an invisible boundary in the dark, the Roche Limit. The moment it crosses this threshold, the rules of reality fail. The geometry of space is no longer flat. It is falling. The side of the star facing the darkness feels a gravitational pull millions of times stronger than the side facing away. In a fraction of a second, the internal pressure that sustained the star for a billion years snaps. The plasma doesn't just burn, it ripples and deforms as the star is stretched into a jagged, glowing strand of matter. As the star is ripped open, its insides spill into a spiraling drain of infinite darkness, heated to temperatures that defy logic. This is not a natural death. This is a stellar execution. And the light released from this massacre is the only way we know it happened. To understand this collapse, we must strip away the myth of the star as a permanent object. A star is not a solid entity, it is a violent, ongoing explosion of hydrogen fusion, barely contained by the weight of its own mass. For billions of years, these two forces, outward pressure and inward gravity, exist in a state of fragile equilibrium. It is a stable system, but stability is not the same as safety. The star in this file is not alone. It orbits a localized center of mass, a supermassive black hole. For eons, the orbit remains predictable. The star maintains a safe distance, following the geometric curves of spacetime. But in the mechanics of the cosmos, orbits are subject to decay. A slight gravitational nudge from a passing neighbor or a loss of orbital momentum is enough to shift the path. This shift initiates a trajectory toward the galactic center. As the star moves closer, the gravitational tide of the black hole begins to exert friction on the star's outer layers. It is no longer a sovereign sun. It is becoming a celestial satellite under extreme stress. The physical conditions are shifting from a state of fusion to a state of tidal vulnerability. The point of no return is not the event horizon. It is a mathematical coordinate in the vacuum. As the star accelerates, the tidal forces, the difference in gravity between the near and far side of the stellar body, begin to exceed the star's own self-gravity. The structural integrity of the plasma is reaching its limit. The system is about to break. This process is known as a Tidal Disruption Event, or TDE. It is not a collision, it is a structural failure caused by the sheer gradient of gravity. As the star reaches its closest point to the black hole, the periapsis, the physics of the situation become terminal. The star is moving at a significant fraction of the speed of light, but it is no longer a single unit. It is being pulled apart from the inside. The problem lies in the differential of force. Gravity doesn't pull on the star as a whole, it pulls on every individual atom. The atoms on the side facing the event horizon are being accelerated much faster than the atoms on the far side. If this sounds impossible to you, hit the like button, because physics is breaking its own rules here. This difference in acceleration creates a tidal force so immense that it overcomes the star's own binding energy. The fortress is not being crushed, it is being unspooled. The star begins to lose its spherical shape. It stretches. It becomes an elongated strand of plasma, a process astrophysicists call spaghettification. Though the reality is far more violent. This is the moment the star becomes a stream of debris. The core, which once forged elements through fusion, is now exposed to the raw vacuum. The internal clock of the star has been forced to stop. This is the point of total orbital capture. The stellar material is trapped in a gravitational well from which there is no escape. Half of the star's mass is flung outward, cast into the galactic void at relativistic speeds. The other half is pulled inward, forming a chaotic, glowing trail that begins to circle the black hole. The star has been dismantled. What remains is a glowing carcass of gas, preparing for its final descent. The destruction of a star is not an instantaneous disappearance, it is a complex, multi-stage failure of matter. Once the structural integrity is lost, the debris enters a phase of violent reorganization. As the shredded stellar material circles the black hole, the atoms collide at relativistic speeds. This friction generates temperatures in the millions of degrees, creating a structure known as an accretion disk. It is a rotating whirlpool of superheated gas, emitting radiation so intense it can quench star formation in entire galaxies. If you prefer the comfortable answer, this channel isn't for you. But if you want to track the failure of the cosmos, subscribe. At the inner edge of this disk lies the innermost stable circular orbit, or ISCO. This is the final mechanical boundary. Anything that crosses the ISCO is no longer part of the observable universe. But before the plasma vanishes, it is subjected to extreme compression. The gravity of the supermassive black hole is so steep that it forces the debris into a thin, blindingly bright ring. This is the last scream of the star, a final release of energy before the matter is consumed by the event horizon. The physics here become chaotic. Magnetic fields, twisted by the rotation of the black hole, act as high-pressure nozzles. They capture a fraction of the infalling plasma and accelerate it outward, perpendicular to the disk. These are relativistic jets, beams of ionized matter and radiation that pierce through the vacuum for thousands of light years. They are cosmic blowtorches, erasers of spacetime that sterilize everything in their path. The star is no longer a sun, it has been converted into a weapon. As the last remnants of the core are dismantled, the accretion disk begins to flicker. The energy output is fluctuating as the black hole finishes its meal. The gravity has won. What was once a fortress of fusion, capable of sustaining life and light for eons, is now a cooling trail of radioactive ash. The mechanics of the tidal disruption event are complete. The star has been processed, stripped of its identity, and reduced to a signature of light in the dark. With the fuel source secured in the disk, the black hole begins to feed. But the consumption is not clean. It is messy, chaotic, and inefficient. A significant portion of the stellar material is not swallowed, it is rejected by the system. The magnetic fields around the spinning singularity act like a cosmic dynamo. They coil up, tighter and tighter, twisting through the plasma until the tension becomes mathematically unbearable. Then, they snap. The energy release channels the superheated gas away from the event horizon, focusing it into a tight beam and launching it outward at 99.9% the speed of light. This is the relativistic jet. It is not merely a beam of light, it is a stream of physical particles with near-infinite kinetic energy. It punches through the surrounding gas clouds, drilling a hole through the galaxy itself. The fate of a planetary system caught in this line of fire is fixed. The physics of destruction are absolute. When the jet strikes a planet, the atmosphere is not just blown away, it is instantly ionized into plasma. The shockwave is hotter than the surface of the star that birthed it. In milliseconds, the oceans do not boil, they flash evaporate into superheated steam that expands explosively, scouring the surface down to the bedrock. The beam doesn't stop at the water. It imparts so much energy into the crust that mountains begin to melt like wax. The tectonic plates themselves liquefy. A world that has existed for billions of years, with its own history and geology, is sterilized in the time it takes to blink. There is no ruin left to study. There is only a glass marble, glowing red in the dark, stripped of every atom that ever made it unique. The jet does not discriminate. It is a cosmic eraser. The death of the star is not an isolated event. It is a contagion. The energy released by the jet is so immense that it heats up the gas in the entire galactic neighborhood. This heat is the ultimate killer of the future. To understand why, we must look at how stars are born. Star formation requires extreme cold. Giant molecular clouds need to be freezing, around 10 Kelvin, so that gravity can overcome the internal pressure of the gas. When the gas is cold, the atoms move slowly, allowing gravity to grab them, clump them together, and initiate the collapse that creates a new sun. But the relativistic jet destroys this equilibrium. It pumps massive amounts of thermal energy into these clouds. Suddenly, the hydrogen atoms are no longer sluggish, they are hyperactive. They vibrate and move at high speeds. When gravity tries to pull them together to form a star, they simply bounce off each other and escape. The gas becomes too hot to collapse. This is the phenomenon known as quenching. By killing one star, the black hole has effectively sterilized a region of space thousands of light years across. The stellar nursery has become a graveyard. Potential solar systems and civilizations are strangled before they can even begin. The galaxy ages prematurely, turning from a spiral of young stars into a red, dead elliptical relic. It is a silent, invisible catastrophe. If you think this uncertainty makes the process less real, share this video to challenge that assumption and show others the raw scale of our insignificance. Most observers look at the sky and see a static void, unaware that the process of creation has been broken. Force them to see the erosion. Force them to understand that galaxies don't just die naturally, they are murdered from the inside by their own hearts. But there is a final consequence to this execution. A remnant that connects the victim to the observer. When the star was ripped apart, not all of it fell into the hole, and not all of it was blasted into the void. A fraction of its heavy elements, the iron forged in its dying core, the calcium, the carbon, was scattered into the deep cosmos as microscopic debris. Follow one single atom of iron. It is ejected from the chaotic disk at a measurable percentage of light speed. It travels alone through the intergalactic vacuum for eons. It drifts in the cold, sterile void for billions of years. It is a microscopic orphan of a violent death. Eventually, it encounters a new cloud of gas that hasn't been quenched. Gravity takes hold again. This time, the atom is not part of a sun, it is part of the debris disk. It clumps together with other survivors. It becomes a rock. The rock becomes an asteroid. The asteroid crashes into a molten protoplanet. That planet cools. Oceans form. Life begins to crawl from the chemistry. And that specific atom of iron, which witnessed the event horizon of a black hole billions of years ago, is now locked inside a hemoglobin molecule. Look at your hand. The iron in your blood that carries oxygen to your brain right now? It is that same atom. It was forged in the core of a star that died screaming. The calcium in your bones that supports your weight? It is the ash of a stellar execution. We are not just observers of this violence, we are the direct result of it. We are the debris that woke up. We are the way the system remembers its own destruction. Every beat of your heart is an echo of a tidal disruption event that happened before the Earth existed. We are walking monuments to the death of stars. Does this lack of closure make you uncomfortable? Let me know in the comments, are we simply dust that got lucky, or is there a terrifying purpose to this recycling of death? Leave your mark before the screen goes dark.